Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is old dastardly Doug back in at you one more time. Long time no see. And this is the Free Thought Forum, brought to you by the friendly folks at Pennsylvania Nonbelievers. We are the largest non-believing organization in Pennsylvania. We have as members atheists, agnostics, just about everyone that has questions about the standard views of religion in the United States. So as you can see, I'm talking to no one tonight, and therefore I need someone else to talk to during the program. Now, if you were watching the previous program, you can see that we were we are interrupting the brethren voices there, and we're bringing you to the dark side, or at least so most people would think anyway. Before we start, I should give a slight disclaimer that the opinions expressed on this program by me and any of the audience that may call in are those of myself and of the callers. The management of Comcast and Channel 16 in no way endorses anything that we say. So here we go again, and we've got an hour to go, and anyone that feels like calling in and voicing a comment, asking a question, or whatever it is about religion in general, or the way that we believe or I believe, please feel free to do so. The number is 717-846-5067. Let me repeat that one more time. 717-846-5067. As we get older, I think that what we tend to do is we tend to reevaluate some of the ways that we think, and also, I guess, an act as well. I'm an old man. Well, I'm 72, so that's starting to get up there, and I guess that would, by many people, would be considered old. And for my entire life, from as early as I can remember as a child, I really have not believed especially in Scripture, okay, of any kind, nor of any God or deity that man knows about today. However, sort of thinking about possibilities, you can't always deny the existence of a God or a particular religion unless you have something else to replace it with. And I guess in a way that for many years, you know, I've called myself an atheist, and that's when I am around a lot of religious people. Whether I'm, it's Christians or Muslims or whatever. I suppose it's a little bit to get their attention. And, oh, you're an atheist. And it conjures up all sorts of thoughts about how I might act, how I might be, my moral compass, as it were. And of course everyone says that you can't be good without God. So therefore, me not believing in God means that I am an immoral person. Well, that's far from the truth. I have probably a moral compass that really strongly points in the right direction. Now, we were talking about names and what we call ourselves and what we refer to ourselves as, and that, in addition to atheist, there is agnostic, which to me is like atheist light. And we have, spiritual people, you name it. There's probably a name for any sort of feeling that's out there and any sort of belief. A lot of times when I'm talking amongst other non-believers, I will refer to myself as an agnostic deist. Well, or deist, however you may want to pronounce it. A call on line 1. Hello, caller.
Try it again. Can you hear me?
Hello, caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. So you're a deist?
Yeah, an agnostic deist. I can't say that, I attend any services, but I think that my personal opinion is that while I may not believe in the scriptural deities, in God or a God like that, I must question myself as to where the heck did all this come from? And it's easy to say, oh, the Big Bang like that, but you still have to say what made the Big Bang. So I've been giving a lot of thought to that. Now, don't think that I necessarily have converted over to any strong belief. I haven't, but I do pose a lot more questions to myself now than I have in the past. Do you have a comment, caller?
Well, who was the Big Banger then? If someone created the Big Bang, there had to be someone there, wouldn't there?
Well, yes. It certainly would make sense that there was a start or a beginning of something, but I'm no more capable of answering that question than I am of flying to the moon, to create an old expression. All I'm trying to do is explore the possibilities here. I do not believe in a creator per se, but I believe that there was probably something that initiated either the Big Bang, if it was in fact a Big Bang, or initiated what we see and hear here today. When we look into the telescopes and the universe, it is far broader and far bigger than any one prior to us in ancient history ever imagined. I mean, probably 99.9% of the people that are out there cannot even imagine the immenseness of the universe. And I've got to admit that I'm one of them. Everyone knows what big is and what large is, and what a long time is, but I really cannot fathom eternity.
Well, no, I don't think any of us can. But first of all, you can fly to the moon, and we've done that, right? so that's not impossible.
Oh, sorry, I should have said by flapping my arms.
Well, yeah, you're
Yeah.
right there. Now, but I don't know exactly how the Big Bang started, and I don't know that I can comprehend it. But all I know is the Earth is here. We're here. It's real. I don't see any proof that there's a supreme being guiding us.
No, neither do I.
That it is, and if there was a supreme being guiding us, he's not doing a very good job, because look at the mess the world's in. I mean,
Yeah,
so,
I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can touch this table. I could, if I got there, I could probably, well, I know I could touch the moon's surface. And if I went out to any other planets or stars or anything like that, I could probably touch those as well.
Well, you're not going to get a chance, because you can't flap your wings that.
Yeah, and I'm too old to get in the space program.
Yeah, and I hope, since you've become maybe a deist, I hope you find a deist church. Are there any around?
No, oh gosh, no, please don't curse me by saying that. I don't want to attend any church or worship anyone or anything. I mean, the thought of having to worship in return for being treated nice or getting my ultimate reward, that's quite objectionable to me. People would say, well, what have you got to lose by believing and by following the Christian tenets? And I say, well, actually, I've got a lot to lose. What I've got to lose is my freedom.
Yes.
My mental freedom. I'm quite sure that the slaves, hundreds of years ago, even if they had the most kind and loving plantation master, certainly wouldn't have remained slaves, nor would they have wanted to be slaves at all. And you can promise them that, oh well, I'll set you free after you've done X amount of work for me. But even under those circumstances, no one would willingly want to be a slave. And that's what I feel that trying to kowtow to the religious dogma that is out there about God, and really how you have to, well, kiss God's butt every day of your life so you can have an eternity in heaven kissing his butt. And I say, no, if I had to spend an eternity in a place with this deity like that, I certainly wouldn't want to do any butt kissing. But if there was a university that I could attend and learn about everything that I know nothing of today, I'd go, well, that would be a good deal. But all we have is just dogma that is in all the scriptures and the Bible and the all the other religions, and they all smack of human interference, human intervention. Everything in there sort of makes sense when you think of a person saying it. Thou shalt not.
Yeah, people wrote the Bible.
Say that again?
People wrote the Bible. It's not.
Yes, I have absolutely no doubt about it. And you'll hear a lot of the religious people say, well, yes, man penned the words to the paper or the parchment, but it was God whispering in his ear what to say and what to put down. And of course, like the King James version of the Bible is the only, one and only truthful scripture. And I'm saying, well, if God whispered in all the writers' ears like that, then he must have been suffering from Alzheimer's. Because, I mean, he tells a different story of everything throughout the Bible. I mean, even in Genesis, and you talk about creation. There's different stories there, and you'd almost think that, like the Council at Nicaea, when they were sort of putting together all these books to make as the Bible, that at least one of them might have noticed that, oh, wait a minute, this contradicts that, and that contradicts this, and this doesn't make sense. But it was printed as is.
Yeah. Well, then I guess you've probably seen the Easter quiz that Pennsylvania Nonbelievers hands out, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one for people. By the way, I know you don't like going to services, but if you want to go to a very good meeting of atheists, you can do that tomorrow night at Isaac's in Lancaster, actually in Manheim Township.
Mm-hmm.
So you can meet us there at 6:30. We'll have a meeting there.
And
fellow atheists.
What is the restaurant that is behind?
Isaac's. It's behind, I think, a KFC. I think it is.
The Kentucky Fried Chicken. And so
yeah.
when you see the Kentucky Fried Chicken, you just sort of pull into that parking lot and look for Isaac's restaurant.
Isaac's right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone, if they want to meet some nice atheists, they can stop out there tomorrow. I guess we start about 6:30, I think.
Mm-hmm. And see what these people are all about.
Yes.
And do you have to buy food or anything?
Well, yeah, I think you should, but I guess you don't have to. But then you'll just sit there while the rest of us are eating.
Mm-hmm. So what you say is that you will go there and order your food, and they'll bring it out, and you'll basically have a nice little luncheon and talk and eat.
That's it.
Yeah, that sounds like very friendly. And are all people welcome?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now, don't try to convert us, but, if you want to come and talk about atheism or what's going on in the community, we'll be glad to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, will you allow people to, stand up or raise their hand and ask you questions about your belief system?
Sure, they can ask questions, yeah. And we might have an agenda. I don't run the meeting, so I don't know exactly what the agenda is, but we'll have someone there running the meeting. They'll have an agenda, and I'm sure there'll be time for questions, though.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we'll see some people tomorrow.
Yes, and also there is a meeting of Pennsylvania Nonbelievers in York coming up the first Saturday in July.
First Saturday every month.
Yeah, and that is on, is it South George?
It's on South George at the Carriage House behind the UUCY.
Yeah, the Universal Congregationalist Church there. For anyone that goes there and they sort of look around and they say, well, where the heck is it? It's not actually in the church.
No, it's in the Carriage House.
Yeah, as you approach the door, you'll see some steps leading down. I think they're brick steps, and then the walkway goes around slowly to the left, and you'll see a nice building in back with a big bow glass, and it's quite a nice meeting. Runs from 10 a.m. To about 12 noon.
Right, and it's the Carriage House, so just stop in the back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's good talking to you.
Likewise.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Yeah, it should be pointed out at these meetings, these get-togethers, there's not a charge for attending. Of course, if you want to make a donation, I'm quite sure that the people running the meeting would not object to it, but there's no rule that you have to pay out cash for it. And even when we go to a restaurant, like Isaac's, you don't have to buy food, or what you can do is you can buy some light fare. You can buy a bowl of soup, and then just call that it. So it's worth a trip to see what the heck atheists and non-believers are all about, and we invite you, the general public, to stop on by. And once again, like I said, this is a call-in show, and the number is 717-846-5067. Now, I should point out that there is I believe it's a 5 to 7 second delay between what I'm saying right now than what you will see on your television. So if you call in and start talking to me, and you're listening to your TV, you think, wait a minute, I can't hear myself talk. But actually then, 5 seconds later, you'll hear like this echo, and you hear what you said 5 seconds ago. And it's so cut and pick and confusing when you do that. So if you're going to call in, leave or turn the volume of your television down while you talk on the phone.
So what number should I use to call in?
Now, you should call area code 717-846-5067. And of course, if you're in the York area, you can just dial 846-5067. Where was I going with this? Oh, yes, we were talking about different belief systems. I think that so many people will misunderstand what atheists and non-believers are. I say, well, if you're a non-believer, what do you believe in? Well, basically, we believe in almost everything that you do except religion or your God. Right? And if you was to put 500 atheists in a room and 500 Christians and I would say Muslims, but about 500 Jews there, and just got everyone talking to one another, and the only prerequisite was that you can't talk about religion or your religious beliefs, but you could talk about anything else. You could talk about death, taxes, the Oprah show, golf, tennis, sports, anything. And at the end of a few hours of all those people talking together, there probably wouldn't be a single person there that would know what the other person's religious beliefs are. I mean, certainly wouldn't know what an atheist's beliefs are, simply because we have the same moral compass that everyone else does. The only difference is that we have a moral compass that comes from within ourselves rather than reading the Bible. But then again, if you read the Bible and like the Ten Commandments, well, except for the first of them, where they're talking about I am the Lord thy God and I am your Savior, and basically God is identifying himself and saying that he will kick your butt if you believe in anyone other than him. But thou shalt not steal. Well, gee, that doesn't sound too godly a commandment to me. I mean, that makes only sense that man would set this rule for himself. Now, not so much because he wouldn't, say, take from you, but what it turns out to be is like a social contract that people have with each other. And, okay. Hello, caller.
Hi.
And do you have a comment or a question?
Well, I just was wondering, I think a lot of people who aren't religious wonder about how to raise their children, if it's harder to raise your children when you're an atheist, if there are problems. Just wondered if you had any thoughts about that.
Actually, yes. It is a little more difficult. When you are a religious person, you can more or less step freely all over the place. And it really doesn't matter what religion that you believe in or what you practice. All that really matters is that you express a belief in a God or God, okay, which, you know, you just say God, that covers a lot of ground. So even like Muslims and Christians and Jews, they will still look at each other and say, well, at least that person believes in God, so therefore they must have a higher moral standard of it. But as soon as you say, no, I am an atheist, all sort of negativity creeps into everyone's mind. So therefore, when you are an atheist, you do have to kind of tread on eggshells, as it were, and you have to choose who you come out to. Yeah, it's fine to say, oh, yes, yes, I am just going to yell it to the world, I'm an atheist. But there were consequences.
That's true.
Yeah, and the way that I look at it is that if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Okay, but what do you do with children in that case? I mean, if you're atheist parents and you're raising atheist children, how do they deal, like, with kids they go to school with, or their teachers even?
Well, that is the big problem with kids that go to school. The children that have been indoctrinated into a religion by their parents will tend to pick on the kids that express either no religion at all. You know, they can turn and say, no, I don't go to church. And of course, the first thing out of the little religious bully's mind and mouth is that, oh, you don't believe in God, you must be evil.
Right. You're going to hell.
You're going to hell, yes, which is the catchphrase that everyone uses. Now, you know as well as I do that the phrase to us saying you're going to hell is almost humorous, and you know, we don't get insulted by it. It's almost laughable. You know, if you actually read, I believe it's in Matthew. I can't remember the verse now because of my advanced age here, but basically it says that you know, by telling someone that they're going to hell, what you're doing is that you are usurping God's right to judge us.
Well, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not exactly Christian humility to tell somebody they're going to hell.
No. And it also says that he that judges someone else will suffer additional punishment by God for usurping God's power.
You know, I've sometimes noticed that Christians seem to take a great deal of pleasure in telling atheists that we're going to go to hell or we're going to burn in hell. And I'm not exactly sure where their joy comes from. You would think that they would think it a sad thing.
Mm-hmm. But have you also noticed that if you're like on our Mother's Day booth that we had in York during the Mother's Day fair, it's not uncommon for a religious person to walk by at a safe distance. You know, we're talking at least 10 to 15 feet away from the front of the booth, and as they're walking by and they get almost by, then they'll turn their head and say, "You're going to hell."
Right. Actually, they'll even say, "I'll pray for you," but not right in front of us. They get out of earshot really fast.
Yeah, and if you ask them, "Hey, look, come on back here and let's talk." You know, I'm not a violent person by any means, and we just love discussions. And we love to talk, and we like to hear people's views. I think the only thing that we don't really like to hear is when people will always quote the Bible as the ultimate source.
Well, yeah, that's really funny. Since we don't believe in the Bible, that doesn't prove anything to us.
No, and yet they offer it as proof. And you start talking to them, well, I'm asking them, do you have any other proof of, you know, like Jesus or these miracles, other than what it says in the Bible? And they go, well, the Bible is enough because that's the Word of God. No, that's what you think. You search through literature and you don't find any reference to all these things that are in the Bible that were written at the same time as Christianity started, and especially when Jesus was supposedly walking the earth. All this was written, I think, what was it, the earliest thing that was written was like about 68 years after Jesus died.
Well, and the Russians, the Romans, kept very good records.
Yes.
But there's nothing that that lines up to the sort of thing that, even if they didn't write anything about the resurrection, anything about having to put to death a popular rabbi or anything like that, as I understand it, does not appear in Roman records. I know I was at one of our booths in Mechanicsburg a couple of weeks ago, and a young kid came up and asked me if I really thought there was a historical Jesus, and I had to say, you know, I'm just not sure. I'm sure that there wasn't a person like the person described in the Bible. There could have been a rabbi or a couple of rabbis who were very influential, and their stories sort of got conflated the way stories do. But I really find it hard to believe that there was a historical Jesus figure because there just isn't any record.
No, and also what compounds the problem is that back in this Jesus day, there was a lot of people named Jesus. Jesus was a very popular name, almost like, you know, John is today. So people talk about, oh yes, the Jesus back then. Well, I say, which one? Which one are we talking about?
But it is hard for kids. I know we decided to send that our daughter needed some at least religious information when a friend of hers told her the Easter story, and our daughter came to me and said, "Mom, you're not going to believe what she just told me." And it was like, well, honey, there are people who believe that. And maybe we'd better get you a little more information about it so you don't just laugh in their face. You know, that's not polite, dear.
I used to subscribe to this this site that we had on the internet that was, I believe it was called Ask a Rabbi. And you know, I enjoy asking questions, not embarrassing questions, but you know, for my information. And I called in, or I typed into this person the question, what records do you have on the supposed thief named Barabbas that the Jewish people chose in place of Jesus? And you know, the question was, what are you talking about? You know, we have no record of anyone named Barabbas being locked up, you know, for petty crimes. And if you start looking back in the Roman records, as you said, they kept meticulous records, and there is absolutely no trace of any thief named Barabbas being released on, you know, that special day. And you would think something like that would well, you know, everyone would be talking about it.
Yeah, you would. Even if the Romans wouldn't have written anything about a resurrection or anything like that, you're right, I hadn't even thought about that, but you're right. The fact that the crowd chose this guy over that guy, there would be a record someplace, and apparently there just isn't.
Yeah. Also, if you start thinking about or talking about Noah's flood, and you know, they have got it more or less isolated, I guess, down to a time period of 50 or 60 years when it actually happened. But it's interesting to note that the Egyptians kept meticulous records of everything, especially back then, as to crops that were grown, how much that they collected in taxes and everything, and what was grown, and from what town and everything. And I mean, they did it for taxation purposes. And going back through ancient antiquity there, if you follow the records of the harvest that they had, during that period, they was able to examine like about 50 years of all these records, and not one of them mentioned a flood. Now, I mean, it's awfully hard to grow corn or wheat or anything underwater.
Now, though, do you think that there might have been a flood in, like, the area of the world where Israel is? I think
the Black Sea, and I certainly believe that there was a massive local flood somewhere. But then again, I mean, you have to remember that back then, a person's world, their universe, usually was limited to a few hundred miles. How far they could either walk in a day or a week, or how far that their camel could take them. So therefore, if they were to have, like one of the stories I heard of, there was a petition in the Black Sea that allowed a lot of the Black Sea to actually flood over, you can imagine that this deluge that they got must have seemed like the world was flooding to them.
Well, yeah, and I think there are flood stories in other religions and other traditions from that part of the world. So, yeah, I think we're pretty sure that at one point, at one part of the world, that part of the world, there was a bad flood. But you're right, that's not the whole world.
But, also, the people come up with a lot of this supposed ridiculous proof about, finding fossilized bones or remains of these creatures in places where there shouldn't have been any water present, and that the Grand Canyon was forged by drainage from the flood. No,
I hadn't heard that before.
Yeah, I heard that like about 6 or 7 years ago, and excuse me, I used to know this gentleman that was. Well, to say he was evangelical would be an understatement, but I always got along with him quite well, and he would tell me these stories of things that he believed, and I respected his opinions, but I still had to sort of laugh to myself, like, you really believe this? But the really, I guess, is what makes people comfortable. Okay? Now, I found that when I was growing up, I really didn't dare come out of the closet and say that I was a non-believer. Back then, you didn't even use the word atheist. You say, well, I don't believe in God, like that. But if you did that, there was virtually no one that was in the closet, and there was no one that was going to support you like there is now. I mean,
that's very true. Remember, it was godless communism, and it made you a red and an enemy of the state.
Yes.
So you didn't want to jump on that particular bandwagon, at least not out loud.
Excuse me, I'm just taking a drinking of my unholy water. So, as a child, though, I found that I had, excuse me, a very natural sacrilegious humor. And I used to get chastised for it. And where I first went to school, they had to have Bible studies. And I would question the heck out of the teacher, saying, well, this doesn't make sense, that doesn't make sense. And she wrote a note home to my parents saying that I was being disruptive.
Hard to believe.
But I wasn't really. I was just trying to keep an open mind and question what I was being told that didn't make any sense. But in that regard, if people... oh, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. I guess I'll jump in and take some of this water.
Well, I know that when I was in school, they told us that in heaven everybody is 33 because that's the perfect age, because that was the age Jesus was when he died.
Yeah.
So this is like when I was in second grade, and we all said, well, gee, what about babies who die? What about people who die when they're 10? They're going to be the way they were at 33, or they're going to be the way they are when they died. And the nuns just told us to be quiet and go on to something else.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And I think that for parents that are non-believers, atheists, agnostics, or whatever it is, it's a particularly troublesome thing to try and bring up children today, and to not put them in harm's way. Because the parents of the believers, excuse me, they can be downright nasty. And the kids themselves in the playground can be just total bullies. So you sort of have to choose your battles. With my son, I always, I didn't talk about religion at all. I never went to church. I always believed that sleeping in on Sunday or playing golf was a far more enjoyable endeavor than going and getting on my knees and praying. That it cost me about the same amount of money playing golf as as it would if you were to make a donation there, but it was far more enjoyable, and I knew that if I missed a putt that I wasn't going to hell.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, but my children never ever questioned me about religion. I would have given them a straight answer, about the way that I believe. I wouldn't have come out and said, yes, I'm an atheist. I would just have told them, well, I have some questions and some doubts about religion, but I wouldn't try to force any particular belief, either religious or atheist, down their throats. Because to me, that is not right. I see parents, sending their children off to Sunday school, and trying to indoctrinate them in all kinds of religious beliefs and activities. I think, you really are not being fair to the child.
No, that's really true. I mean, the biggest predictor of what religion you practice is the religion your parents practiced. And
yes.
That doesn't mean that it's right. You would think that there would be some way to check objectively which one's really the appropriate one, but most people don't do that. They go with what their family believed.
Mm-hmm. And they're so natural. I know that a lot of Christians that firmly believe in hell and damnation and purgatory really do believe that they are saving their children by guiding them in the path of righteousness. And actually all they're doing is they're just compounding the dogma that is forced into their minds. I chose to let my children grow up and make up their own mind. Well,
it's funny. I've sometimes had Christian parents say to me, have you given your children a chance to find out about Christianity? As a matter of fact, we did. And then I say to them, and have you given your children an opportunity to find out about atheism? And there's usually a moment of silence. No, normally they have not.
Yeah.
Well, look, I'm afraid I have to go, but keep having a good show.
Don't be afraid.
Oh, well, I'll try not to. I'll be brave.
Thank you for calling.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, I want to thank the caller for calling in. That was quite interesting, and something to think about. What do you do when you're a non-believer and your children are still in this malleable stage here? If it is your firm belief that you see no proof of a God out there, if they come home to you and start telling you about how Jesus loves them and everything, do you say something to them? Do you challenge them? Fortunately, I didn't have to go through that experience, but had they done so, I think that rather than turn around to them and chastise them or say, no, that's not the way to think, this is the way to think, here and forget about your religion. I think I would have gone to one step further, and I would have tried introducing them to comparative religion studies. That in itself is very, very interesting. If you start comparing the beliefs and the dogmas of all the religions in the world. I have this gigantic book, beautifully illustrated there, that talks about Muslims, Buddhists, Deists, Catholics, everything that you, every type of religion that you could think of, from the the Middle East to the West and everything, and you start reading about what people believed in. It really is amazing about the similarity between a lot of the different religions. But these are the different religions that they will chastise the other religion, saying this religion is not the true religion. We are the true religion. But if you compare the two of them, there's not a pinch of salt difference between them, except that they call themselves by a different name. If you start looking at Christian churches, Christian, I forgot the word. I can't reach the bring the word forward. But if you look at all the different Christian religions that are out there, you've got to wonder if God, the Christian God, is the same no matter what, and the Bible is infallible. Why are there tens of thousands of different Christian churches? What is it there that makes a Baptist think that a Catholic is not worth their salt, and that a Baptist will think that a Catholic will surely be going to hell? And the Catholics in turn think that, well, the Baptists, all the Baptists are going to hell. But look, you drive in downtown New York or New York City, and you look at the churches and the buildings they've got, and they start talking about their names are the First Church of Christ, the First Church of God, God's Dominion Church, Jesus Loves You Church. Why did they all sort of drift away from one central religion? If there's one Jesus and there's one God and there's one Bible, why do you need all these thousands of little breakaway factions that are out there that people can go and embrace and say, this is my church and I'm really a Christian? Again, I mean, what do they think is so special about the particular church and the pastor or the preacher, whatever it is, in their church? I've never really quite understood how all these different like religions, Christianity, Christian religions, can have so many different permutations out there. It's supposed to be all the same. If it was true, okay, then everyone would believe the same things about God, about Jesus, about morals, about the Ten Commandments. For instance, the Catholic Ten Commandments. If you read the Catholic Ten Commandments, you become painfully aware that the second commandment is not really there. What they have omitted is the passage of "Thou shalt have no graven images." Well, of course, that was always problematic for the Catholic Church. So, how easy it was to just totally, cross out that part in the second commandment, and then just sort of move the other commandments down and split them apart. So they still have 10, but they don't have the original second commandment. Well, isn't it kind of funny how everyone has to try and mold their religion to their own beliefs, their own preferences? You would think that if God was in charge, and there was a God, and the Bible was in fact the true Word of God, there wouldn't be any differences. There shouldn't be any questions whatsoever. But because the Bible is so subject to different interpretations, of course we have all these different religions, and everyone is claiming that they are the only ones. Well, it's getting down, and it looks like we've got about 2 minutes to go, and I think it's kind of too late to have any more callers calling in, but we do thank the two people that did call in and posed some interesting questions and gave us some interesting conversation. The Free Thought Forum is a show that very often will be broadcast. People will watch it, but they just watch it, and they don't want to call in and ask any questions or post any state any comments about it. And it is actually a whole lot more interesting when people do that, because then you can have a two-way conversation. And if it's a Christian calling in, then doesn't it help everyone get to know what the other people are thinking? I mean, yes, well, we don't want to be proselytized to, but certainly you can call in and tell us what you think. We'd like to thank you very much for calling in and watching our program, and we'll be on this program the fourth Tuesday of next month, and please tune in. It is appreciated, and we're getting down to the last 10 seconds here. So once again, thank you for watching, and be sure to call in the next time we're on the air. Take care. Bye.